guys, today we have a little bit of a unique one. You see that the table is covered in painter's tape. That's because we're gonna be dealing with paint, and I inevitably will spill it. So we're gonna be testing out a few different unique paints and just see if they do what they say that they do. This video was originally inspired by, I wanted to test chalkboard paint and whiteboard paint. But then I quickly found out that there's a whole wide range of different paints. So I figured, let's just test them all out. We have whiteboard paint. We actually have two different types of whiteboard paint. One is a 2-part mix, and then we have one that is just a 1-part mix, so we'll be able to compare and contrast the differences. I also have chalkboard paint. I have glow-in-the-dark paint. I even have some spray paint that is supposed to turn any piece of glass into a mirror. And then, one of the ones I'm the most excited for, Vandal Guard Anti-graffiti coating. This is supposed to, it's a coating that's supposed to go on like a paint, but it's supposed to prevent graffiti. So if you put this on and something does get graffitied, somehow it's supposed to protect it and you're supposed to be able to just wash away the graffiti. So we'll see how that works. All right, guys, so before we go any farther, we got to talk about today's sponsor, Wolfbox. Wolfbox has sent me their G900 Pro rearview mirror dash cam. So what is this thing? This is a rearview mirror that clamps over top of your existing rearview mirror. But it's not just a rearview mirror, it is also a dash cam. So it has these nice little rubber straps. You just clamp this over top of your existing rearview mirror, and then now you have a mirror with a built-in dash cam. It also has a place for a rear camera. So now when you're backing up, you have a camera instead of just looking through your rearview mirror. So it's actually a pretty handy device. Let's power it on and let me show you some of the features. So now we have the device powered on. You can see the table, and we have the rearview mirror plugged in. So it is touchscreen. It has a 12-inch display. You can see it is already recording. So like I said, it has a touchscreen, so you can view your front camera. You can just swipe, and you can have a split screen. So now you have your front camera and your rear camera, or you can swipe again, and then you can just have your rear camera. And then there's a little button here on the bottom, so you can push that, and you can turn it off, and this just becomes just like a regular mirror. So it also has voice activation. So right now we're viewing the back camera. So I could say, show front camera. And then it'll switch to the front camera. Show rear camera. And it'll switch back to the rear camera. So that's pretty cool. And then you also have a whole bunch of settings in here. Like you can go in, you can record sound, you can change your display modes, you can change the G sensor so that it'll only record if there's certain amounts of G-force that are detected. You know, you can flip your cameras, your time format. You can download an app so that you can download the footage to your phone. You can do a whole bunch of nice, cool things. So it's pretty cool. Let's go over some tech specs. Like I said, the front camera, this one is a 4K. The rear camera is a 2.5K. It uses an IMX678 sensor with 8 megapixel resolution so that you can get really clear night shots, and of course it makes your day shots really clear as well. It has 5.8 gigahertz Wi-Fi so that you can download the clips to your phone extremely fast. And then another cool thing it has is 24-hour parking monitoring, so you can monitor what's going on around your vehicle 24 hours a day, so you can see if anybody was to, say, hit your car in a parking lot, or maybe try to break into your car, anything like that. So I think this thing's pretty cool. If you're interested in picking one up for yourself, all of the links will be in the description. So for the most part, what we're going to be painting is I have these 1x1 squares of plywood that have already been primed with 2 coats of primer. And I'm going to use these little foam rollers. And also, my painting knowledge and my painting skill are absolute 0. So this should be interesting. We're going to start off, I think, with the chalkboard paint. I don't know, something about it just makes it feel like it'll be pretty easy. And I don't have a stir stick. So I'm just going to shake it up. And I think that should be good enough. Woo! That is some strong stuff. You smell enough of that, you'll go on a vacation. I mean, that looks pretty consistent to me. Caution, contains carbon black. I don't know what that means. Hopefully that's not bad. It probably means I shouldn't be sniffing it. At least 2 coats must be applied to create a chalkboard finish. Okay, so maybe we'll do like 3 coats or something. I wonder how many professional painters are gonna cringe. Oh, this is easy. I could literally be a professional painter. I don't understand why sometimes the wheel will roll and other times it just slides. Okay, so that's 1 coat. All right, I think I'll just let that. It doesn't look very smooth though. Maybe that's why you need multiple coats, for it to look smooth. It looks like skin or something. Okay, maybe we'll let this dry a little bit and I'll do probably 2, maybe 3 more coats, and then I'll let you look at the final product. All right, next we're gonna try the glow-in-the-dark paint. Now I've already been shaking this up for a few minutes. I didn't realize how tiny this can was until I got it. I'm hoping this is really good, like, you know, really, 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 really bright. This one seems much thicker. Okay, this is gonna be a little bit tougher. I realize it's gonna be so... I realize it's gonna be so, like... I guess so pale. I figured it would be like a little bit darker, so I'd be able to tell what's been painted and what hasn't been. I can also tell that this foam roller might not have been the best choice, because I chose the foam, at least from what Google said. Foam is supposed to give you the best finish as far as being smooth on top. But this seems to be making it textured, which I think is what's gonna mess up the chalkboard. Maybe I'll put down another layer, make it real thick. I think the secret to making this really good is gonna be layering it on as thick as possible. So that way you have more, you know, whatever makes glow in the dark, you have more of that material on the board so that it can absorb the light and then glow. So I'll probably do the same thing with this. You know, I'll put 3 or 4 different coats on there and we'll see what the finished result looks like. All right, next we're gonna do the dry erase, but just the one that's the, like, just one ingredient, I guess you would say. It's just all in 1 can. We'll see how that goes. Woo! That one's got a smell to it. And honestly, it just looks like white paint. That's probably way more than I need. Probably should have went with a different color primer. It's almost impossible to see what's been painted and what hasn't been. I feel like I'm doing something wrong because the roller doesn't want to roll. It just seems to want to slide. That just doesn't seem right to me. I feel like I'm pulling the paint off. Okay, I think this roller sucks. Maybe it's not just me. All right, I'm gonna employ a new method. I'm just gonna use this roller as if it was a brush. I feel like that's actually working surprisingly well. That's probably good enough for a first coat. All right, now we're gonna do the 2-part dry erase. And honestly, I'm terrified because, I mean, to be honest, the other ones haven't been going that well. At least I don't think so. Who knows what's gonna happen with this? But I did read the directions, which I've read the directions on all of them, but this one specifically says to use a foam roller. Maybe it's made up differently or whatever. I'm not entirely sure. But surprisingly, this one says that after you mix the 2 parts, it says that it's supposed to cure for 3 days before you can write on it. Yeah, that's something different. So this can is like, I don't know how well you can even see that. It's maybe like a quarter of the way full. You're supposed to dump this one into that one and then stir it up. Okay, so this can is like black on the inside. How are we gonna get a whiteboard if we're mixing white paint and black paint? I'm no colorologist, but this is gonna turn that like gray probably. And I did find a random stick to start with, because it did say that you had to start with stick. Get in here. Oh, never mind, I'm an idiot. The can is black, the liquid is clear. That genuinely shocked me. I thought that the paint was, or I guess technically this isn't paint. I think this is supposed to be like an epoxy since it's 2 parts. Wow, it's really thickening up. And supposedly, you only need 1 coat. I guess we can just dump the whole can because it's all gonna harden within, I think it said within 3 hours it's all gonna harden. Oh, I think this actually might work because this seems to be much thicker. It seems to be going on a lot smoother. You know what? I think this actually might be really good because where it's so thick, it also seems to have some type of like self-leveling type of quality. And it kind of seems to be just smoothing itself out. And it looks more glassy. I'm probably putting a little bit way too much, but whatever. I'm gonna let it dry for probably like a week anyway. I think we are completely covered. And yeah, that's actually kind of cool. I don't know how well you can see it, but I can tell that it's kind of like leveling itself out. And it's not giving that really tacky texture that all the others were given. So we might actually have something good here. All right, now we have the anti-graffiti coating. Now, I may have made a mistake, but I don't think so, because the bottle doesn't say specifically what material it's made for. So, but the pictures on Amazon showed it being used on concrete. So I just have a paver here that I was gonna use it on, but it doesn't actually say that it's for concrete, but it also doesn't say it's for wood or anything. It just says that it's a anti-graffiti coating. It applies like paint, and it takes 5 to 7 days to cure. Although I don't know how it's gonna apply like paint whenever it feels like water. Yeah, that's literally just like a liquid. Yeah, that's literally, it looks like milk. I guess I'm doing this right. I wonder if it'd be easier if I just did this. Yeah, I think that's actually way easier. Man, this stuff stinks. Whew. This is gonna have to go outside, I think. So as far as applying like paint, I don't know about all that. I feel like that's a, I feel like that's a good coating. I'm gonna take that outside. So all of these things are supposed to cure for between like 3 and 7 days. So we'll come back in 7 days and we'll see what we got. All right, this one's gonna be kind of weird to film. But we have the Rust-Oleum mirror effect, transform glass into a mirror. I have sheet glass. Let's see if we can turn this into a mirror. Looks like this can's already been used. What's up with that? I don't think this is gonna be a mirror effect at all. This is just silver spray paint. There ain't no mirror to it. I mean, am I crazy? There's no way that's not gonna dry into a mirror. That's literally just a plain silver. What kind of garbage is that? That's more, the glass itself is more of a mirror. You can see the tree in it than that. You know what I think I'm gonna do? I think I'm gonna, like from here over, I'll paint and then I'll leave just some of the plain glass there. Because I can see my reflection in the plain glass. I can kind of see my reflection and the other stuff. Okay. Let's let that dry and let's see what we got. All right, so this has had about 5 days to cure. I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't look or feel any different than it did before I put the coating on there. So my my faith that this is gonna be any good is kind of pretty low. So I have 3 different colors of spray paint, just because I don't know, maybe a different color comes off easier. You know, like maybe a black spray paint will stain more than a brighter color like orange, you know? So we're gonna just do 3 strips of each one, and we'll just see if there's a difference, see if they come off. I also opted for the cheaper spray paint because I feel like someone who's gonna be doing graffiti is probably not gonna use the highest quality of spray paint. And then I'm also gonna let the paint sit on there for about 8 hours, just to kind of simulate, you know, if this was a graffiti situation, most likely somebody's going to graffiti something at nighttime, and then in the morning somebody's gonna see it and then try to clean it off. So we'll try to simulate that. So let's get going. All right, well, let's do this. Let's do one heavy line, and then one, I don't know if I'm gonna have enough room for all of them to do that. Man, my measurements are kind of off. All right, let's do a thin one here. Oh, that's light. That actually might come off pretty easy. Okay. I think my theory, that might be a little bit too light, actually. Okay. I think that'll work. All right, so everything's cured. First, we're gonna look at the whiteboards, see how those turned out. I don't know how well you can tell on camera, or if you can at all, but this one is the one that just came out of the can. This is the one that was the 2-part mix. This one is kind of has a yellowish tinge to it, and this one is like pearly white. So it's not really that big of a difference, but you know, if you were gonna paint an entire wall with this, I think you would definitely be able to tell. It kind of has that yellowish kind of tinge to it. It's a little bit, I don't know, whenever you look at it, kind of like straight on, it just looks kind of weird, like when I hold it up. Also, I know that you guys will probably never be able to see this, but the texture on this one is horrendous. Like it just, I don't know, maybe it's the roller, maybe it's because I'm not a professional painter, I don't know. But the texture on this one came out horrible. I think I did like 4 coats, I think, and you can still just feel all the texture from the brush, and it's just, it didn't come out that great. Now this one, that was the 2-part mix. Like I said, whenever I was painting it, it almost had like a self-leveling type of quality to it. So I just did 1 coat, real thick, and then it just kind of leveled itself out. And then it's not perfect, but it's really close. I have maybe like 10 different spots where like bubbles came up for some reason. I don't think that is any fault of the mix itself. I think that's just, I don't know, maybe something I did wrong in the prep process or whatever. But outside of those little bubbles, it looks great. And it's nice and smooth. This one has more of a glassy type of feel to it, like an actual whiteboard. And this one is kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It just feels weird. It doesn't feel like a whiteboard. Let's see if we can write on them, and let's see if we can erase what we write. Got some brand new markers here. Let's go with black first, because that'll probably be the hardest to come off. Really? You know what? The government ruins everything, because back in the day, we used to have good markers and they smelled great. But now we have these like scent-free garbage. Why do they gotta ruin everything? Like, can't the government just let us have good markers? The glue smelled great, the markers smelled great. Now we have nothing. Society's going downhill. Okay, let's just write a message. Okay, I mean, that wrote really good. Oh, whoa. All right, this feels like a whiteboard. It feels like I'm writing on a piece of plywood that was covered in white paint. This feels like I'm writing on a whiteboard. That is a much better experience. Let's see if it erases off. That's not very cool. So it does erase off. I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, but I can still faintly see where it says your mom's fat. And now there's like a black smudge right there. I can still faintly see it on this one too. We'll use some of this stuff. Whiteboard Care. Okay, yeah, that took that right off. That is completely back to normal. Oh, it took that one back to normal too. I don't see it anymore. Okay, let's do this. Let's color the whole thing, half black and half blue, and then try to wipe it off. See what that looks like. All right, let's go with this one first. Let's see how it handles being wiped off. I hate that this eraser keeps getting caught on the edges. That's pretty good. For how much ink was on there? That's probably about the same as a regular whiteboard would be. Okay. Significantly worse on this one. This one is much more like a whiteboard. You can still see each side, the black and the blue, a little bit. But this one, I mean, you can really tell. And this one, if you put this on a wall and then you wrote on it a lot and erased it and then wrote on it and erased it on it, after you did that probably 4 or 5 times, it would look really bad. So let's see if we can just bring them back with a little bit of spray. Okay, so for the most part, I mean, it does seem like you can just kind of bring it back. This one I think is going to be fine. Yeah. Okay, so in conclusion, I think if you're going to paint a whiteboard, I think there's no reason why that you would ever use this. I think you should go with the 2-part mix and just do it right. I think the 2-part mix, I believe, is a little bit more expensive, but the quality that you get out of it is so much better. Whenever you write, it feels better, it erases better, it levels itself out a lot better. So if there's any like imperfections in your wall or anything, which there's gonna be, that's not gonna show up as much, I just think this is all around better. This, I could see maybe being useful for like something small, you know? Like say if you were gonna do something this size where you don't need an entire can of the 2-part mix, then you could get away with this. Maybe if you did, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 coats or something and made it perfectly flat, then all right, you can get away with it. For anything else, go with a 2-part mix and just do it right. All right, now let's try the chalkboard. Now the chalkboard, it still has the texture. Like, I think I've also put 3, maybe 4 coats on this one, and I just could not get it to be smooth. So I don't know. Maybe it's my technique. Who knows? I have not held a piece of chalk in probably 20 years, I bet. That doesn't feel too bad. I mean, hey, that's kind of a chalkboard. It doesn't really erase that great. Although it's been so long since I've even seen a chalkboard in person. I don't think chalkboards really ever erased that great. You know, like good enough that you could put something else on there. Wow, okay. I guess this chalk sucks. Oh yeah, there we go. I do remember this about chalkboards. If you write on them enough, then they just like get like a white haze all over them. Okay, so it works, it's decent. It writes like a chalkboard, it erases, you know, pretty much like a chalkboard. I think I'm gonna use some of the whiteboard spray and see if maybe we can clean off some of the chalk, and then maybe it'll like be restored back to new. I highly doubt this is what you're supposed to be using on this, but why not give it a shot? Oh wow, I feel like that's actually doing wonders. Yeah, we're right back to where we started, I think. Yeah. The texture is not that great, but it works. You can write on it with chalk, you can erase it with chalk, you can clean it off, goes right back to new. If you need a chalkboard, if you need a whole wall that's a chalkboard, I highly recommend it. It works like you would expect. All right, next, let's take a look at the mirror paint. So I made a mistake whenever I was putting it on. Yeah, I think this is the right way. And whenever I was painting it on, I made a comment about how it just looks like silver paint. What I didn't realize was that whenever you're using this stuff, if you're trying to turn glass into a mirror, you spray it on the glass. So I sprayed it on the underside of this glass, and then the reverse side of what you spray is what becomes the mirror. So you gotta have to like do it in reverse of what you're trying to accomplish. You can't really see that well. Maybe you can kind of see a little bit. I don't think you guys can see nothing. In person, you can tell that it's not that bad. Oh yeah, you can kind of see something. The can did say mirror effect. Now, I would say that is very accurate. It is not a mirror, it is a mirror effect. Because I don't know how well it translates on camera, but I can look in this and I can see myself and I can see the reflections of things, and it looks kind of like a mirror effect, but it definitely does not look like a mirror. The other thing to note is this stuff is very, very fragile. Like it doesn't, you can see, well, hopefully you can see. Maybe you can see this way. You can see a big scratch here and then a scratch here. This is just from me setting it on the table. So just simply setting it down on this table was enough to just scratch off the paint that easily. So you gotta be really careful with it. So that's really it for the mirror. It like I said, it is a mirror effect. It is not exactly a mirror. If you had a giant, actually I don't even know. I was trying to think of a situation that you would use that in. Maybe on something small. Maybe something that you actually just want a mirror effect on. You don't actually want it to look like a mirror. I don't know. If I had to give it, rate it out of 10, I would give it like a 3. Just simply because you can see your reflection in it, but it's not that great. Now it's time for the glow-in-the-dark paint. Now this one has, I think, like 7 coats. I was just trying to get as much glow-in-the-dark on this panel as I possibly could. Even after that many coats, like as a paint, this stuff just sucks. It's like, the only way I can describe it is the more coats you do, it's almost like you're trying to smear snot around on something. Like it doesn't flow like normal paint. It's like thick and kind of almost stringy, and it just doesn't apply well. It's very, very difficult to use. Let's see how much it glows in the dark. Okay, so I don't even know if you guys can even see that. I can see it in person, but it ain't much. Let's get some light on it. Let's do 2 flashlights. Yeah, there we go. I feel like I look insane right now. We'll see if we can get any decent glow out of it. All right. Ooh, okay. It kind of did something. I can literally see it on the camera that I can see it fading away on the camera. Like when I first took the light off of it, then it was kind of bright and then it just died off so quickly. That's the effect that I get in real life, is that it just dies off so quickly. Like it's almost completely dull again. Let me put it in front of one of the big lights. Ooh, can you see that? That was the biggest light that I have. Oh, look at that. You can see it fading away. That's crazy. Oh, you can see see my thumbprint while I was blocking it. Okay, well, that sucks. So that pretty well sucks. So does it glow in the dark? Yes, it does glow in the dark. Is it like a good glow in the dark? No, it's more of like a, say if you like painted something with this and you put it in a kid's bedroom, whenever you first turn the lights off, it's gonna glow for 10 minutes maybe, and then it's just gonna go away. I don't even know what you call the reaction or whatever, whenever you kind of charge it up with a light and then turn the lights off and then it glows, whatever that is. I've seen other glow in the dark stuff that you can take a flashlight and like charge it up, and then it's good for like a significant period of time. This, you can charge it up and put a bunch of lights on it and take the lights off, and then you can just immediately see it just die down. That kind of sucks. All right, so for the graffiti spray, or the anti-graffiti spray, we're just gonna try some good old soap and water first. And then if that doesn't work, we'll try the pressure washer. Okay. This should be super easy to come off. That's not gonna do anything. I can already tell. Wow, that did absolutely nothing. So that's pretty cool. All right, pressure washer. Okay, so I think that sucks, to be honest. Because it, like, yes, it did come off kind of, but not really, because you can still easily see where all the paint was. That was a 25-degree nozzle, and that pressure washer goes up to 4,400 PSI, and it's cranked out to the max. It's still here. If you're gonna advertise an anti-graffiti coating that is supposed to make the paint come off easier, like with a brush and soap, it should come off, but with a high-powered pressure washer holding it like 1 inch away, you'd think that it would just blast it right off, and then you would have no problems. I don't think this came off any easier than it would have without the coating. Like, I feel like if I just spray painted this plain, no coating, I would have had the exact same result. So I'm pretty disappointed with that. Curious to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.